10% tariff. In response to recent U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports, China has announced its own set of retaliatory measures targeting American goods and companies. These actions are set to take effect on February 10, 2025. Key Chinese tariffs on U.S. goods. 15% tariff applied to U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, LNG. 10% tariff imposed on U.S. crude oil, agricultural machinery, and vehicles, including large engine cars and certain trucks. These tariffs are estimated to affect approximately $14 billion worth of U.S. exports to China. Antitrust investigation. China's State Administration for Market Regulation has initiated an antitrust probe into Google, alleging violations of anti-monopoly laws. Unreliable entity list. China has added U.S. companies PVH Corporation, owner of Calvin Klein, and Illumina to its unreliable entities list, citing discriminatory actions against Chinese firms. Export controls. The Chinese government has imposed export controls on critical minerals, such as tungsten and bismuth, which are essential for high-tech products. These actions by China are in direct response to U.S. President Donald Trump's recent imposition of a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports, justified by concerns over issues like the illegal flow of fentanyl into the U.S.-China. Has criticized the U.S. move as a violation of World Trade Organization rules and has stated that the U.S. should address its own fentanyl problems rather than imposing punitive tariffs. The escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China have raised concerns about potential global economic repercussions. Analysts view China's retaliatory measures as strategic, aiming to maximize impact on the U.S. while minimizing risks to its own economy. What do Chinese say more? Chinese say that in response to U.S. government's announced 10% additional tariffs on all Chinese goods to the U.S. citing so-called issues such as fentanyl, China announced on Tuesday the additional tariffs on certain imported goods originating from the U.S. starting from February 10, including a 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas and 10% tariff on crude oil, agricultural machinery, large displacement cars, and pickup trucks, per the Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council on Tuesday. This decision was made in accordance with the corresponding laws and regulations, as well as international legal principles, per the Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council on Tuesday. The additional tariffs on the corresponding imported goods from the U.S. are based on the current applicable tariff rates, according to the Commission, noting that the existing bonded and tax reduction policies remain unchanged, and the additional tariffs imposed will not be subject to reduction or exemption. The move came as the U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Saturday to impose a 10% tariff on goods imported from China, the Xinhua news agency reported. The White House claimed the 10% tariff is on all imports from China on top of existing tariffs, the report said. The U.S. government's decision to impose additional tariff on all Chinese goods is a unilateral tariff increase by the U.S., which seriously violates the rules of the World Trade Organization, said the Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council, noting that the move not only fails to address the US own issues but also undermines normal economic and trade cooperation between China and the US. China has filed a case with the WTO dispute settlement mechanism to defend its legitimate rights and interests after the US announced a 10% tariff increase on certain Chinese products on Saturday. Responding to China's filing of a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization, a spokesperson of China's Ministry of Commerce, MOFCOM, said on Tuesday that the US tariff hikes on Chinese exports seriously violate WTO rules, constituting a blatant act of unilateralism and trade protectionism, and China firmly opposes these measures. The MOFCOM spokesperson added that the US moves severely undermine the rules-based multilateral trading system, disrupt the foundation of China-US economic and trade cooperation, and destabilize global supply chains. The U.S. has repeatedly prioritized unilateralism over multilateralism, drawing strong condemnation from many WTO members, the MOFCOM spokesperson said, urging the U.S. to rectify its wrongful actions immediately. As a staunch supporter and key contributor to the multilateral trading system, China is willing to work with other WTO members to jointly address the challenges posed by unilateralism and trade protectionism, in order to ensure the orderly and stable development of international trade, the MOFCOM spokesperson further noted. China's Ministry of Commerce, MOFCOM, and General Administration of Customs, GAC, on Tuesday announced decision on export controls of items related to tungsten, tellurium, bismuth, molybdenum and indium, according to an announcement published on the website of the MOFCOM. The announcement came into force starting from Tuesday, in order to safeguard national security and interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation. The export control list of dual-use items has been updated simultaneously. In response to a question regarding the announcement of export controls of tungsten and other items on Tuesday, a spokesperson from the MOFCOM said that the Ministry and GAC issued an announcement on the implementation of export controls on tungsten and other related items, imposing export control on 25 rare metal products and their technologies, including ammonium paratungstate. China has informed the countries and regions concerned in advance. It is a common international practice to implement export controls on tungsten and other related items. As a major global producer and exporter of tungsten and other related items, China has long adhered to its international obligations regarding non-proliferation. Out of the need to safeguard national security and interests, China has imposed export controls on specific related items in accordance with the laws, the spokesperson said. The addition of related items reflects the concept of integrating development and security, which is conducive to the better safeguarding of national security and interests, and better fulfillment of its international obligations in non-proliferation, and the safeguarding of the security and stability of the global industrial chain and supply chain, the spokesperson noted. Exports will be permitted if they comply with the relevant regulations, the spokesperson said. China's recent imposition of tariffs on U.S. goods is poised to have several significant consequences for the American economy. Increased costs for key industries. Energy sector. The 15% tariff on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, LNG, along with the 10% tariff on crude oil, is expected to reduce demand from one of the U.S.'s largest energy consumers. This could lead to an oversupply in domestic markets, potentially driving down prices and affecting profitability for American energy companies. Agriculture and manufacturing. Tariffs on agricultural machinery and vehicles, including large engine cars, may decrease U.S. exports to China, leading to reduced revenues for American manufacturers and potential job losses in these sectors. Supply chain disruptions. Critical minerals. China's export controls on essential minerals like tungsten and bismuth, vital for high-tech products, could disrupt supply chains for U.S. technology and defense industries, leading to increased production costs and potential delays. Impact on technology companies. Regulatory scrutiny. The antitrust investigation into Google and potential probes into companies like Nvidia and Intel may hinder their operations in China, affecting their revenues and global market positions. Broader economic implications. Consumer prices. Tariffs can lead to higher costs for imported goods, which may be passed on to American consumers in the form of increased prices, potentially reducing consumer spending. Employment. Industries affected by reduced exports and increased production costs may resort to layoffs or halt hiring, potentially increasing unemployment rates. Market volatility. The escalating trade tensions contribute to uncertainty in financial markets, potentially leading to increased volatility and affecting investment decisions. China's retaliatory tariffs and regulatory actions are likely to have multifaceted impacts on the American economy, affecting key industries, supply chains, consumer prices, employment, and overall economic stability. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he is in no hurry to speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping to try to defuse a new trade war between the world's two largest economies sparked by his sweeping 10% tariffs on all Chinese imports. The United States each year exports roughly $35 billion worth of soybeans, grain, corn, and cotton to China. The farmers who produce those crops are disproportionately from states that support Trump. The U.S. levies come on the heels of the White House's decision Monday to postpone tariffs on Mexico and Canada after both countries pledged to enhance border security. Many Chinese products are already subject to tariffs of up to 25%, and the new measures are in addition to those fees.